Before he can say anything, he sees her take on the caster in the middle, not realizing she already has this one on her. They both cast powerful spells on her and slam her with devastating force. First, the lightning bolt comes down from the sky and rocks her to her core. She screams in agony, convulsing violently as the electricity rides through her body. Immediately afterwards, vines rise up from the ground and begin choking her, then lash her back repeatedly. Again, a chorus of agonized shrieks is released by the unsuspecting rogue. Sage sees this and decides to take immediate action. So, she casts a destructive immolation attack that causes severe burn damage to everything within a 15-foot circle. Unfortunately, it also causes a high aggression from anything caught within that radius. As a result, all three casters and Fearnfog launch an assault on Sage, and her shield is burned away in seconds. At this point, her health begins plummeting. With all the chaos and squishy fighters taking heavy damage, Salvatore realizes he can't keep everyone up. Fortunately, Greylick notices as well and switches from fighting to healing in order to assist Salvatore. While he is doing this, Killswitch and Coldcrove fight to regain aggression from the enemies on the front by unleashing all their high damage area attacks. Coldcrove even goes right up to Fearnfog and smashes his face with the broadside of his huge axe. One of the Legionnaires drops during this spam attack, and the other one is taken to near death. Realizing that Sage and Sabella are about to die, Greylick runs in and screams with his fear spell. All the goblin casters and warriors flee in fear and run to and fro for a few seconds, but then they stop and get back on Killswitch. "Nice going, Grey," Killswitch praises him. "You bought us enough time to regain ag from the mobs at the front," Cold agrees. "Yes, now we can finish off these assholes back here," Sabella shouts happily as she lays into the wizard that had nearly just finished her off. Within seconds, that caster is dead, and she pulls her dagger out of his temple. Then she looks over to Sage and winks. "I feel better." Sable, Sage, and Grey finish off the last of the casters just as the boys at the front knock Fearnfog down to half-life. He shouts, "Enough! I've had it with you puny weaklings." Then he pulls out a vial and drinks the contents within. Following this, two shamans appear and perform a brief ritual. Fearnfog morphs into a shadowy gray version of himself and begins casting a summoning spell. Once he finishes the spell, two succubi and one enormous 15-foot stone golem appear. He then unleashes them on Kill and his team to fight this battle for him. First thing, the succubi each cast Enslaved Mind and take control of both Sabella and Coldcrove. As a result, they both turn and attack the teammate closest to them. Coldcrove jumps at Killswitch, who blocks all his attacks, while Sabella simultaneously sinks her daggers into Greylick's spine. He yells in pain and shock as he feels the daggers sink in. Then he quickly turns and deflects her next attempt to stab him. While the team is fighting amongst itself, the goblins and monsters launch a one-sided assault. The two shamans start off with one fireball on Kill and Cold, and a second one on Sage and Salvatore. As the two succubi slash away at Greylick and Sabella with their whips. At the front, the humongous rock golem begins pounding Cold and Kill with its huge fists. Killswitch dashes away from the golem and Cold to take out the succubus controlling Cold. He quickly reaches her and bashes her with his shield, effectively stunning her and freeing Cold from her enchantment. Meanwhile, Grey attacks the succubus, enchanting Sabella. She slashes him repeatedly with her black leather whip as he approaches her. Then, just when he gets to her, he runs her through, burying the blade of his sword deep into her stomach and now her back. She drops her whip, reaches out with her arms, and latches onto him. Then she pulls him in close. Finally, she kisses him deeply, and he immediately feels his life force being drained. He instantly realizes she is siphoning his health, but cannot escape her clutches. Suddenly, her eyes shoot wide, and she releases her hold as Sabella's dagger erupts out of her forehead. She shrieks, and the energy she had siphoned instantly returns to Gray. Throughout this entire fight, as everyone is taking on these creatures, Sage was constantly casting a barrage of her highest damage nuke blasts on Firnfog. Without warning, the golem slams the ground repeatedly, causing shockwaves that knock everyone down and deal heavy damage with each wave. It then proceeds to pound Killswitch and Coldgrove into the dirt with its massive stone fists. Their health drops significantly, and they remain stunned. At the last moment, Salvatore recovers and casts a group shield, and follows up with a greater heal spell on both Coldgrove and Killswitch. Sage joins in this retaliation with a gale gust, stunning the golem for a few seconds. After which, she returns to blasting the gray-toned hobgoblin. A few more blasts and his health reaches 10%. Simultaneously, Salvatore blasts the remaining succubus with a holy fire, and screaming out, she turns to ash. With both succubi gone, and Firnfog's health down to 10%, the golem stops fighting and turns to Firnfog. He walks over to the goblin leader and says, "We have given you our power, and yet you have failed to defeat these intruders. Now, we will take your power and finish this." Immediately after he finishes speaking, the blood from the two succubi begins flowing along the ground and pulls up around Firnfog's feet. At the same time, the golem suddenly bellows, bursting into pieces. These pieces begin flying around violently, then shoot towards Firnfog, sinking into the hobgoblin's body, covering it like armor. Next, the blood floats up and coats his arms, then shapeshifts his arms into living snake heads. "Tremble at the might of the darkness here invoked," the grotesque boss commands. "Last part, guys," Killswitch announces. "Stay away from those snake arms." Then Coldgrove advises Gray, "Hang back for this part to see how this bit works." The boss holds his hands up and the snakes shake violently for a second. Then they shoot out, extending rapidly towards all the fighters. Kill blocks as Cold slashes the deflected head, and Sabella dodges, then slides her poison blades in and drags the blade down the full length of the body. Following this, the arms retract and repeat the attack several times. On the fourth time, the arm switches up the attack pattern, and Sabella is caught off guard. Gray immediately jumps in to help Sabella. "No, Gray!" she shouts, but it's too late. The giant snakehead bites Gray and sinks his teeth into his back. He immediately feels a severe pain in his heart, and he grits his teeth as he clutches his chest tightly. Following this, his vision goes black, and he can no longer move nor hear anything. "Gray!" Sabella shouts. Salvatore begins casting a slow, bright purple and blue spell and sends it into Gray's dead body. Suddenly, Gray's eyes open once again, and he gasps for air. "Welcome back, my dear bard," Salvatore greets him. Gray looks over at the boss and says, "Thanks." Then, he sees the arms fall off as Sage drops a final fire blast. The rock armor begins to shake and crumble out of the hobgoblin's body. "Now, Graylick, give the killing blow," Sage shouts. Graylick boosts his speed and attack power and sprints right at the monster. At the last instant, he leaps and raises his sword over his head with both hands. Then, during his descent, he slashes down hard and drives his sword through Firnfog's head, splitting it wide open. The hideous boss screams out, "No!" Then finally, he slumps over dead. Ding! A loud ding announces that Gray has completed his first dungeon and gained another level. Congrats! The rest of the team shouts out, celebrating Greylick's new level. Thanks, guys, he says, smiling. Now it's time for the best part, Killswitch announces. Loot! Everyone says together.